Playing video games is supposed to be entertaining, but sometimes video games are more hassle than they're worth. Ask any gamer what their least favorite parts about gaming are, and we're sure that they could go on for hours about spawn campers and aimbots ruining the online gaming community. Before we get into this video, be sure to subscribe to The Gamer and ring that bell to stay up to date with all things gaming. Without further ado, here are 10 annoying things every gamer hates. Lag. There have been major technological advancements in the video game industry. We've gone from pixelated side-scrollers and a handful of colors to three-dimensional worlds where even the tiniest little pebble has a ton of texture and depth to it. Yeah, pixelated side-scrollers made their comeback, and they probably won't go away soon, but either way, video games look amazing now, and they're only going to get better with time, especially with the new virtual reality technology. Of course, with new technology and better graphics comes problems. For starters, players need to have a system capable of handling these new games. An old computer from the 90s probably won't run the new iteration of Call of Duty too well, that's for sure. For the most part, computers and consoles are more than capable of handling whatever developers put on the market these days. It's kind of in their best interest to be able to make sales and have the system to back it up and run it appropriately without the aid of constant updates. Then there's every gamer's most hated experience: lag. With the popularity of the online gaming community, a lot of the problem when it comes to lag has everything to do with online gameplay. There can be a myriad of reasons for lag when it comes to online games, but the sentiment is all the same. Having a game lag during an all-important match is a bummer. Honestly, it's one of the most infuriating things in multiplayer gaming and can cost players the game over something they cannot control. Cutscenes. Cutscenes are, for the most part, beautiful and cinematic. They showcase what the developers can do and how they view the world they created. Cutscenes often act as short movies between bits of action in a video game. They manage to keep the pacing of the storyline going while transitioning to the next bit of action. While some cutscenes are long and overly involved, most players are fine with a cutscene here and there during their gameplay. Then, of course, there are the cutscenes which go horribly wrong. The first example of this are cutscenes which seem to last hours and hours. These types of cutscenes feel like the developers are just attempting to shove their genius down your throat every chance they get. To top it off, these wannabe director types of cutscenes are inserted at every available opportunity. Oh, you played the game for 2 minutes? Have another 10-minute cutscene just for playing. Either these developers are really into their own story, or they can't figure out any other way to advance the gameplay without the band-aid of constant cutscenes. This all sounds like a very thinly veiled complaint aimed at Metal Gear Solid 4, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It's not! I love that game, and the 71-minute cutscene smack dab in the middle of it. The second example of infuriating cutscenes are the cutscenes which you cannot skip. Alright, so every gamer's had to sit through a cutscene they couldn't skip. Every time I start up The Witcher 3, yes, Dandelion, I know! Please stop! It's mildly irritating, but not entirely rage-inducing. Then there are the cutscenes which not only can't be skipped, but also have to be watched in full each time the player has to restart the mission. We really hate those. Power outage. There are a lot of ways to lose a video game. Games can glitch out at the wrong time, a plan you worked out earlier may not play out the way you wanted it to, your opponent could be spawn camping or using aimbots to take you down unfairly. Hell, even lag can hit when you least expect it and completely throw off your entire game. No win is a guarantee, no matter how much work a player puts into it. However, there is nothing worse than making a lot of progress in a video game only to lose all of your hard work. What's even worse is when you had no say in the loss of your data. Maybe you're a chronic oversaver, hitting save every chance you get because you're terrified of losing all your progress. Maybe you at least make sure to save before and after every major boss battle. Either way, you do everything in your power to make sure you don't lose your progress. Then there's every gamer's worst nightmare, the untimely power outage. Whether it's a sudden lightning storm or your little brother tripping over a power cord, losing power suddenly means losing at least a small portion of your game progress. There's no use fretting over it since you can't get it back. Players will just have to buckle down and regain their lost progress, or complain for an hour or so first. And if they weren't chronic oversavers before, they will be now. Pause the game. One of the worst things about being a gamer is dealing with people who don't know anything about gaming. For some outsiders, they think the technology has not changed since the 1980s and really have zero awareness when it comes to how far the video game industry has come. The number of people who think it's just a game can be somewhat irritating. Sure, they're games, but there are people out there doing a lot when it comes to development and competitions. However, the worst offender of them all is so prevalent that it has become a long-running meme. It's the "can't you just pause the game" type who wants you to pause your online game. No, Mom, League of Legends can't be paused, but if you keep talking and distracting us, we'll definitely lose the match. Not only is it completely ignorant of what online gaming entails, but it's also kind of insulting, as if the progress you've made isn't important enough to complete because it's simply a game. On top of that, it's somewhat disheartening. Games are important to you, and while you understand that gaming isn't everyone's thing, you would hope that the people around you would have cared enough to take some interest in your favorite way to relax. I mean, after all, you did accompany your mom to the quilt fair. Oh man, that was supposed to be a joke, but that's actually happened to me. Microtransactions. Gamers already pay enough for the initial game. They pay another pretty penny when it comes to either buying a console or building a PC for all their gaming needs. Then there are all the accessories in the form of controllers, keyboards, headsets, and proper seating because, let's face it, proper form is important if you're going to be sitting there for hours at a time. There's a lot of money to be invested in taking up video games, even as a hobby, and it includes the price of the video game, not including the DLC, which will inevitably come out a month after the initial release. Oh, and let's not forget Steam sales and subscription services like Xbox Live Gold and PS Plus. Gamers already put a ton of money into playing video games as it is. For developers to insult their customers by letting their greed take over and including pay-to-play options in their games, let alone pay-to-win features, we're surprised they still manage to sell games at all. It's a gross disservice to their consumers, and in all reality, it tells the gamers that the developers don't care about them. They only care about their money. No one should have to keep plugging more and more cash into their favorite hobby in order to keep playing. This isn't Magic the Gathering. Oh, so close! I almost made it the whole way without making a joke. Cheaters. There's a sense of accomplishment which comes from spending hours upon hours grinding your way through a game and improving your skill set. It's difficult to climb through the ranks, but once you're at the top, you know you earned the victory all on your own. Okay, so maybe you had the help of your teammates. Nevertheless, you weren't relying on underhanded methods like using an aimbot to get sweet headshots from across the map. You learned to do it all on your own. In spite of hours of practice in-game, we've all run across the one guy who is leaps and bounds better than everyone else. No, we're not talking about that Overwatch superstar who dropped out of school to train and play all day every day. That guy's good on his own merit. We're talking about the kid who just created their account yesterday, has never picked up a shooter in their lives because their mom wouldn't let them, and suddenly they're top dog after about 10 minutes of gameplay. Look, we all know they're using an aimbot or several other methods of cheating like God mode, but what do they actually gain from it? They didn't earn those kills. They didn't earn victory or win it themselves. They're not fooling themselves or anyone else, and they look like a massive tool. Cheaters ruin the game for everyone, including themselves. Campers. Most gamers who play first-person shooters pride themselves on their situational awareness. Navigating a map while not being outright killed is a skill set which a gamer has to develop over time. It's part of the challenge of gaming and part of the fun. Sure, it's terrifying to step away from the walls and out into the open environment, but it's necessary in order to get better at the game. Then there are the players who insist on hugging walls in a stairwell and picking off anyone that happens to come across their field of view. We get it. It's terrifying to fully trust in your skill set and up the ante, but it's unfair for anyone who camps to feel like they're a superior player if they can't branch out and test their skill a bit out in the open. There are exceptions, however. Snipers are one of them, as first-person shooters often involve long-range, one-shot headshot weapons. There are also times when hiding indoors is necessary to gameplay. However, no gamer should be hiding out 99% of the time. Most of these games are intended to be played with more of a tactical run-and-gun playstyle. When a player camps out in a window well and treats the map like their own personal updated version of Duck Hunt, they're not playing by the rules. Not only that, they're cheating themselves out of a sense of accomplishment. Maybe they could buy that from EA Games. Developers. For For the most part, gamers and developers need one another. Gamers need the developers to create the games they love to play, and developers need gamers to play the games they create. The two usually have a decent relationship with one another, especially since they both recognize how much they mutually benefit from this relationship. However, problems arise when game developers aren't honest with their fans. More than a few game developers are guilty of hyping up a new release with cinematic cutscenes at E3, only to have the game fall flat on release day. Whether they knew it was bad all along or bought into their own hype, we'll never know. Either way, that type of dishonesty damages a fan's trust in a developer over time. No one wants to drop $60 on a game only to play something that appears to be half finished. No Man's Sky. Another blunder from developers are their microtransaction and pay-to-play loot crate fiascos popping up all over the video game industry lately. Sure, we understand that game developers need to make money too, but isn't the outlandish price of their half-finished games enough to pay their rent? They may hide their greed behind the pretense of giving players a sense of accomplishment, but their fans are not as dense as they think. Constant updates. With the advent of digital games, gamers now get to play their favorite titles a lot faster than they would have in the past. Players no longer have to wait in long lines at big box stores well past midnight to pick up the next title in their favorite franchise. Gone are the days of obligatory midnight releases and physical copies of video games. Do people even own discs anymore? While some midnight releases were a lot of fun, most players would rather have their game ready to play as soon as possible. Since digital downloads are the new norm, most players can pre-order their game prior to the release date. That being said, pre-orders are a hotly debated topic, so do it at your own risk, and definitely do not announce that you did so on Reddit. Anyway, if a player were inclined to have a copy of the newest title in their favorite franchise as soon as possible, pre-ordering it would be the way to go. Consoles are even catering to digital downloaders by downloading said new game prior to the release time, so the game is ready to play the second the clock strikes midnight. But what about those slightly older games? Sure, players can buy a digital copy whenever, but another irritating problem arises. The dreaded cycle of constant updates. There's something especially irritating about getting ready to play a game only to be stopped by a succession of updates, which seems like they're going to take hours to install. Rage quitters. Alright, so every gamer has had their rage quit moments. It's not always easy to contain your frustration when you're on the 10th hour of gameplay and getting nowhere. Everyone has their bad days, even when it comes to something which is supposed to be relaxing, like video games. In fact, someone pointing out that it's only a game will make you rage 10 times harder. Then there's the chronic rage quitter. Every gamer has come across at least one chronic rage quitter in their online gaming community. They're the ones who are quick to anger over every little perceived slight. They're the ones who think that they're in charge and better than everyone else right up until they're the one throwing the game. They're the ones who are convinced someone in the game is out to target them specifically, and they're the ones who repeatedly whine, "You guys!" before throwing their keyboard across the room. Long story short, they're the person everyone else desperately wants to team kill. Not only do rage quitters ruin the game for themselves, but a lot of the time their salty attitudes ruin the game for everyone else as well. How can a team possibly win a game when one team member is busy slamming their fist into their keyboard? Yeah, unless the rest of the team can carry on without their rage quitter, it's pretty much a lost cause. So what annoys you the most about playing video games? Are there any annoyances we missed? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to The Gamer so you can keep up with all of our new content. Thanks for watching.